This is something different for me that I'm looking forward to. Peter today is going to talk about the differentiated classroom, meaning there are... I'm not going to say, that's his job. Okay, so something very informative.
Okay, hi everybody. Oh, straight back into our classroom normally, and then we go, hi everybody, and get hi. Hello teacher, oh thank you. Make me feel at home. Okay, so we're going to be talking about differentiation and differentiation inside the classroom. But before we get started with that, we really need to figure out what differentiation is. So we're going to start with a little bit of a parable, a little bit of a story. And after each one of these cases, I want you to think, would you be happy with what the doctor did? So we're going to look at a doctor. And the doctor has a patient come in, and the patient goes, Doctor, I have a headache. Doctor goes, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. The patient walks out. Happy? Relatively okay? Yeah. Patient number 2 comes in and goes, Doctor, I have a cold. Doctor goes, here, take 2 aspirin. Call me in the morning. Okay. Patient number 3 walks in and has a broken arm. Doctor, oh my God, my arm's killing me. It's bent up here with this. I'm in so much pain. Here, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. Is that a good doctor? Horrible. It's a horrible doctor. Would you go to see this doctor?
I've been to that doctor.
You've been to that doctor. You've been to that doctor. This is not did you go back to that doctor? No. What is the doctor doing wrong?
Taking money from pharmaceutical companies.
He's taking money from pharmaceutical companies. Okay. He's prescribing without thinking.
He's like that. If he's not treating the person based on symptoms, there's no differentiation there.
There's no differentiation based on the symptoms. There's no differentiation based on the person. Thank you for using the keyword. If I was Groucho Marx, nothing would fall from the ceiling that way. Anything else?
Mannerism?
Yeah. One more time.
Maybe part of the mannerism, in a way, to stick to it.
Yeah. His mannerism is a little bit off. He's routine. So the thing here is that, that's the story of the doctor. But let's think about it for a second. Doctors and teachers are both professionals, or at least we aspire to be. Are we doing a similar thing in our classrooms? The basis of a lot of the classroom methodology out there is based on behavioralist theories about how humans work. You put in an input, and you get out an output. By measuring the output, you understand how well the input did. The black box. Now, unfortunately, this works well in theory, but when you stick a human being in the black box, you're not going to get the output that you expect. Because you're not taking into account what is going on individually. Does the person have a broken arm? Do they just have a cold? Do they have a headache? How does this impact our classroom? Well, who here has ever taught a student who's deaf? Sight problems. How did that impact your classroom? How you had to teach? Did you just prescribe your aspirin because that is what is said that you have to do? Or did you attempt to move it slightly differently? So, let's move on. What is differentiation? Differentiation is a philosophy. It's not a series of techniques. It's not a methodology. It's a way of looking at education. It's not about, it's based in a response to what I talked about, that behaviorist model. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a movement called holistic teaching, which started looking more at the individual and working through that. Differentiation builds on that and moves forward. The basic premise are, your students are different. Each and every student is different. And that's a good thing. Because if we were all the same, it would be a really boring world out there. Yeah? Okay. You know. If we were all the same, it would be a really boring world out there. And the differences that these students have profoundly impact how those students go on to learn. I've heard many, many times from Korean teachers, from Western teachers, oh, my students are all the same. I asked them a question, what did you do last weekend? And they always have the same answer, study. Yeah?
Yeah.
Anybody have that experience?
Yeah.
A couple of people have had that experience. Yeah? Question is, what were they studying? Drinking. Here's the question, what were they drinking? If I ask people to put up their hands and say, who likes drinking soju, who likes drinking beer, there's a difference there. There are inherent differences with every single human being. If we just start plugging in the expected behavior, the expected input, and looking for the expected output, we unfortunately start to get into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, like for example, I was in the class, TOEIC, some students, we want vocabulary. Some students, we need more listening.
Differentiation based on the thing the student wants to study. That's a very important form of differentiation. Okay? But I need you to make it very clear that differentiation isn't about a series of techniques. The story I heard was differentiation was introduced into a school system in America, and they were given a folder full of differentiation techniques. And this teacher took the folder and worked through every one of the techniques and said, I have done differentiation. No, it's a philosophy, it's how you look at the world, how you move forward. So, how do we do it? Oh, well, actually, the objections. Let's deal with the objections first. People complain about differentiation and go, oh, it's just the dumbing down of material.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're just making it easier. We're just making it easier, therefore it's not as hard. You have two students. One can read fluently in English, and the other one struggles with ABC. Which one is going to get the value out of you bringing in into the classroom? If the student doesn't have the prerequisite skills, you can't build the student forward. So, it's not the dumbing down of material, it's the separating out of the specific material that will have the best advantage for that specific student in some cases. I am terrible at math. Anybody else? Yeah? Okay? I am fairly good at standing and speaking in front of an audience. Fairly good. Anybody else? Sure. No, not really. I'm working on it. Thank you. Right? So, these different strengths and weaknesses, if I want to work on something, is it worth my while focusing on what I'm really, really strong at? Or is it better working on the things that I need to improve to be able to move forward in the education? The next point is, it's unfair. The objection is, oh, it's unfair. Think about it. Student A is given an easy worksheet and student B is given a difficult worksheet. You know, it's unfair to student B who has a difficult worksheet because, you know, they have to do much more. Actually, most of the time you'll find that if you do something like this, student B who has a more difficult worksheet will be happier. Trust me on this one, it's really, it sounds very counterintuitive, doesn't it? Have you ever had to do something that was so easy that it was no challenge at all? How did you feel answering A, B, C, D, A, B, C? You don't feel that you're learning anything, there's no engagement with the material. So sometimes you actually have to allow the person to have it. I love this image, our education system. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Is that examination fair? Is it a test of tree climbing? Yeah. What is it that the assessment is testing? How are we working through this? You have to remember, there's a beautiful image which is the fire triangle. Everybody knows the fire triangle. You know, ignition, heat, oxygen, fuel. There's a nice one for education, which is instruction, curriculum, assessment. Thank you, Robert. And assessment. How they all link together give us education. If we are just making the assessment too easy for one type of student and too difficult for another, are we truly being fair? Students can achieve if they are given the opportunity to do so. Okay, so those are the two big objections to differentiation. So how do we start? How do we start with differentiation? And I love this quotation from Sun Tzu, The Art of War. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Know yourself, know your enemy. Well, unfortunately, in this case, not your enemy, know your students. Potato, potato. We have to start off by asking ourselves, what do I believe as a teacher? Do I believe that every student has the potential to learn and master the material? Do I believe that there are some students who I just can't teach? What are your beliefs? Know yourself. And we talked a little bit about the underpinning and the philosophical underpinning of differentiation a little while ago. Yes? Or at least I hope I did. I meant to. Okay. Some people are at least smiling and nodding at me. That's always a good sign. Okay? So, we know ourselves. So, the next step would be getting to know our enemy, our students. Because if we know ourselves, we've got a 50-50 shot. If we know ourselves and we know them, we've got a better shot. So, how do we get to know our students? I'm going way too fast. How do we get to know our students? There are a couple of ways to get to know our students. Number one, observe. I can't stress how important it is to be active in your observation of your classes. Noticing fine details, little tiny things. like what pencil case that student has, can sometimes make the difference. Remember one student who had a Batman pencil case. And that moment where I went, ooh, Batman, you went, connection. Because, oh, wait a second. Teachers connecting with me on something that I know, I had a great moment the other day. I was at my Aikido studio, and this student wandered over to me and went, TARDIS. And I went, huh? TARDIS. And I looked down, and I was wearing a Doctor Who t-shirt. And the kid was, for a moment, I didn't recognize that he was speaking English. Because it was, TARDIS. And the context was so strange. And then I had a moment of, wait a second, this kid watches Doctor Who. Wow. I could really get to talk to this kid. Okay. Interview. Talking to your students, asking them questions. One technique that is promoted quite dramatically in differentiation, starting a differentiated classroom, is being at your door of your classroom before the students come in and going, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Making the students feel welcome. Another beautiful thing is when you're doing an interview like this, I like to emphasize bright spot analysis. Ask the student what works really well for them, and then do it. I remember the story of a student who was struggling with his teachers. Bad attitude, was written off, and everything like that. Sat down with a guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor went, so what class do you like? And he went, I like chemistry class. Oh, why do you like chemistry class? Mr. Thompson makes me feel like a human. How does he do this? Well, every day before class, he meets me at the door and he asks me, how are you, and how are things going? Quick note. Thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you for giving me that information. The guidance counselor went to all the other teachers of that student and said, hi, what I want you to try to do every class is meet this kid at the door and say, hi, how are you doing? 2 weeks later, the same kid comes back into the classroom, into the guidance counselor's office. The guidance counselor goes, so how is school going? Oh, it's much better. My teachers are a lot friendlier. Never underestimate the power of asking for that little thing and that little micro change. And have a great idea. Charts. Self-fill out charts. I mentioned earlier that I think my skill at math is pretty down and my skill at public speaking is a little bit higher. Have the students fill out the chart. Have them say, hey, my English reading skill, I think it's at this level. My writing skill, I think, is here. My speaking level is probably here. There's lots of Korean students underestimate their own speaking ability. My listening skill is maybe here. Have them fill out that chart, put it up on the wall. Have a look at it. Point out to them that, hey, everybody's different, and that's okay. Glyph. A glyph. If I had a little bit more time for this presentation, I would put up a glyph and show it to you. Basically what it is just an outline of a person, and the student is asked to color it in based on what they like to do in class. What their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And it creates this beautiful image that you can